we have to work super hard. If we can connect with our kids, then our connection, naturally, they're going to go to what is real and what is healthy. And they're going to want to connect with us, which is going to drive them away from their phone, at least some
Okay,
bit.
well,
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis, where family is everybody's business. And today it's Mary and Steve that's in the podcast booth. And Mary looks like an Easter egg.
I do. I have a pink vest on and green pants. I don't know what I was thinking.
Hey, I think it's a great look.
Yeah,
Everybody has
it's a
been
stretch.
commenting.
Well, I've gotten a lot of different comments today on my outfit.
Yeah. What did one call you?
Well, Alan said that I look like his mother's sorority or something like that. That
How
I'm
old's your
gonna
mother?
get in trouble
No, we
wearing
won't
this
say.
because of her. And then Rebecca said that I look like Wicked. I'm Glinda on top and Elphaba on the bottom.
Oof.
I don't know. I liked it.
It's a good look.
It's Easter. It's the week of Easter.
Mhm.
Did I just date the podcast when I said that?
Oh, that's good.
We'll edit that out.
Mm. Well, I'm
Anywho.
in the lazy man's shirt today.
How many times have you worn that shirt this week?
Right. We've made some new Goodfellas merch.
Yes.
And they are, what do they call these? Zipper, 3/4?
3/4 inch.
Is that
It's a
it?
good look.
Yeah.
3/4 zip,
Zip,
3/4 zip. I don't know.
something like that.
Something like that.
And all the guys like them in the office. So we're wearing them all the time. Very easy.
It went from a really great shirt to a uniform.
Looks good.
It does.
All right. So all of that to say, you should be watching us on YouTube, not just listening to
Yeah.
us. You might want to go ahead and check us out on YouTube because we've got over 4,000 subscribers,
We sure do.
viewers on YouTube, and we would love for you to subscribe. If you have any, questions you want to ask us, you want to get any updates, you can do so at texting us at family to 302-524-0800. Take that number down, 302-524-0800. All right,
And
let's talk
our
family.
audience is growing because we
Yeah.
talk family.
We
So,
talk family.
yep.
Hearing
Let's do
some
it.
good things about how the show is impacting families. So here's something that I'd like us to talk about today, Mary, because on occasion I will rant and rave about the evils of cell phones.
Yeah.
And
On occasion.
on occasion, and makes me frustrated to see young people, especially like when you go to a restaurant or something,
Yeah. Couples on their phones
on their
all
phones.
the time.
But I've also seen moms and dads on their phones as
Mhm.
well. And I've been guilty every so often of being bored for a movie or something and getting on my phone. But here's the thing. What we do is we make the phone the taboo. We say that there's so much bad
Right.
that the phone is this introducing people to, your young people to, that's the reason why they need to stay off their phone. It's
Right.
because it's corrupting them. The phone is corrupting them. And yet what we've been seeing recently is another viewpoint of it that I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
And it could be worth a conversation or at least a mindset to process. All right. Because phones really they're a great addition to our lives.
Yeah, they are.
They're a lot of help. There's a
Mhm.
lot of good in our cell phones. We communicate rapidly with our cell phones. We
We
get
work on
information.
them. That's right.
Yeah, we get information at the drop of a hat. We work from them, check emails, text, take phone calls. Our phones are really a great addition. Everybody's got them. And we carry them everywhere, even to the bathroom.
To the bathroom. We can track each other.
We track each other's movements.
I know where Dad is.
Yeah, thank you. So we can't make phones the bad deal, the
Yeah, they're not.
boogeyman.
Yeah.
We've got to go back and ask ourselves this question, and this was the other viewpoint that I think is pretty powerful, and that is, why would our kid go and revert to this private world of their phone and maybe even gaming?
Mm.
Why?
Yeah.
And what some are telling us is they're saying they're choosing the phone and their private world because the public world in the home is so dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And there's too much pain there or there's not enough engagement there. There's not enough communication. There's not enough um,
Interest.
caring
Yeah.
there
Family
in the
interest. Sure.
public home, so they revert to the private world of their phone. What do you think about that?
I definitely think that's an interesting take on that because we have for so long said it's technology that's killing this next generation. And the truth is we didn't have iPhones, but we had radios and we had cassette decks and we had things that would cause us to want to retreat to our rooms. We had magazines and books and we didn't have access to the outside world like the phone gives us. But I guess that's a great way to see it. It's really the same thing no matter what the technology or the tool is. If a kid is allowed to become introverted and isolate or wants to, rather than be out in the social environment of the home, maybe there's not as much going on in the home,
Yeah.
and it's an easy cop out for that kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really great way to look at it. It's easy to blame technology because then we as parents don't have to take full responsibility
Yeah.
because we don't want to take phones away. I know that the state of Florida has been discussing banning phones in schools.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of parents have fought over it and argued over it because they want their kid to have access. Well, I was thinking about that when we were in school. You went down to the front office and called your parent.
Yeah.
Whatever. So it's definitely something to consider and think about and really search our souls as families and parents
Mm-hmm.
and find out, is the phone the cop out, and what's the payoff for us as a parent that our kids are in their rooms on their phones, and maybe we
Yeah.
put some guardrails up, but we don't realize what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Is it the phone, or is it the fact that we as parents aren't keeping an eye and we're allowing them to isolate?
Yeah,
I
well,
guess that's the point, right?
Yeah, there's always boundaries that people should put up with regard to their phones. Chris and Rochelle, they have a little box by their front door. It's kind of cute where they
Yeah,
walk
it's
in,
great.
put their phone in the box, and it's an automated thing. It's electronic. It lets it'll ring when the phone's been there for so long.
And they
Um,
reward each other
they
from how
reward
much
each
time they're off
other
the phone.
off the phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cute.
It's great.
It's setting up boundaries
Yeah.
that they have to set up. They want to set up in their home. But we want to help families. So because we're all about the family, we just showed a video this weekend in one of our service environments where we celebrated legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there looking at that, brought tears to my eyes, because to me, if you can say Steve Alessi was about anything, I would want it to be that right there.
Yeah.
I want people to succeed in their careers. I really do. I want them to have the best work, the best job. I really do. However, over all of that for me is when a man can look over his life and see that his kids are happy and then his children's children are happy. That
Yeah.
legacy
Oh, yeah.
played out. And
Oh, yeah.
that's what gives me the greatest charge. So we saw that. So we want to help families.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at a family that's got a kid that feels more comfortable in their private world than they do the public world of their home, what could be causing that?
Mm. Well, I think one thing that parents do, and we had to fight hard as a family, is maybe they don't set the right tone in the home. Maybe the right tone isn't set because if it's maybe a single parent that's feeling guilty or has a job that's so all-consuming and trying to take care of their son and daughter or whatever the circumstances might be, that it's just very easy. You're so exhausted to just get home and the kids are there and they're in their house and you think, okay, they're in their room on their phone, they're safe, they're not out.
Mm.
But that's not the case. If they're isolated on their phone, they're not safe.
Yeah.
And setting the environment for, no matter how tired you are as a parent, if you've got kids, you got to parent your kids.
Yeah.
You're going to have to give up some things to not have kids that you lose at some point in life. And then you have this major problem at home because your kid's addicted to porn or gets involved with somebody on social media. I mean, there's so many ramifications to what can happen. The bullying situation that goes on. And I think the offset to that is to create environments in the home that are fun, that are off technology, and have those timelines where from this time to this time, no technology at all. We're going to put the technology away, and not from a punishment, we can't trust you. it's like, this is what our family does. We're going to create some fun. We're going to do something. We're going to buy bikes. We're going to go ride bikes. We can be creative when we want to
Right.
be. But I think the whole point of that is you've got to offer something to your
Yeah.
child in place of technology, because this has everything on it.
Yeah.
Games and
Yeah.
magazines and
Yeah.
culture battles. Everything's on this phone.
Well, here's an issue. If you've got a breakdown in the living room of communication,
Yeah.
if you're not talking to your kid around the dinner table,
Yeah.
you know, communication breakdowns are a big cause of an unhealthy home environment that could send your kid to their phone.
Yeah.
Because they're communicating with somebody, you know, they're just not communicating to you. They're talking
right.
to friends, maybe even strangers, but they're not talking to you. I was in the service yesterday and I met a family and it was grandparents and they had a granddaughter there that was in her 20s. And I could tell in an instant that she was a gamer.
How could you tell?
Just had this look, had this
Really?
look of isolation.
Yeah.
It's a
A
presence,
world all on their own that nobody else is included.
not comfortable
Yeah.
in the space she was
Right.
in right there. Didn't really know how to necessarily communicate in that space with me.
And talk to human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They more comfortable, like the vampire look of the night coming out. Just seeing that,
Okay.
but in this other world,
Right.
not the world that is real, you know.
Right.
And I could tell in a second. So I started to talk to the person, and I asked them what they did. They shared with me what they did for, you know, what they want to do with their life, and it was unique. And I happened to mention anime, and when they lit up when I mentioned anime,
Because you knew.
it was like, okay, I'm onto something here.
Come on now.
And I could tell, you know, that the grandparents, with maybe the age, there's a disconnect here. So it was almost like, let me bring my daughter to this environment so that she can get help.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the big generational gap, and there's a lack of communication going on. So I'm talking to the young person and I'm saying, why don't you come out to this group? And she's like, I'm kind of shy. I said, wait, you're doing a great job talking to me.
Yeah.
You're communicating right here with me. What I'm saying is, we have to work super hard. If we can connect with our kids, then our connection, naturally, they're going to go to what is real and what is healthy. And they're going to want to connect with us, which is going to drive them away from their phone, at least some
Okay,
bit.
well, I think the great point you're making, we have to hold on a little bit here, is the fact that you, who are also a grandparent, not of teenagers, but you knew what anime was. So right there, that's crazy. You're not allowing your age to disconnect you from the culture, and you're at least aware. And I was going to say this. It's so funny you brought that up, because I was going to say one thing that we never did, I didn't, and you by default never did, was let our kids believe that somehow we were ignorant on what this generation was up to. Like, we never used the language, well, you kids today. I'll give you an example. The fact that you knew anime blew her mind, I'm sure, or his mind, whoever it was you were talking to. It closes the gap of understanding. And so you're not dismissed as an old fuddy-duddy, right? Which a lot of parents do. You and I, we made sure to the very best of our ability that we stayed as current as we could and were interested in what our kids liked and what they were into. And even to this day, because what happens is when you bring up their favorite singer, man, I heard Justin Bieber, such and such. What did you hear? You're immediately connected with your kid. And that culture, current culture phenomenon that's going on isn't something they're hiding from you and only talking about on their phones when they're away with their friends, texting their friends. But now they're coming into the kitchen and mom's talking about it while she's chopping up carrots. Well, I heard
they're going to roll their eyes when you do it.
But they're blown away that even to this day with our young adults, with the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds situation. Man, we can get together and start talking about that, and I'll know more than they know.
Is this the story of us?
See, this is us. You know.
This is us. So
you know.
Stupid. I'm tired of hearing y'all talk about that stupid.
But can I
crises.
say that if that brings you together with your teenager.
Yeah.
Because our kids are getting older now. They're like, please do not bore me with all that stuff. Mom, all that's a trap. Don't get. But when they were younger, we really made an effort to not be those old, out of touch, fuddy-duddy parents. We could have cared less about Justin Bieber or anybody else they were enthralled with.
All of that to say, you're at a level now where you're speaking their language.
And you need to attempt to do that.
That just causes them to say, okay, like last night, for instance, you and Lauren wanted to watch a show.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the stupidest show. I tried to watch it. You had more curse words in your show than I watch in any of my shows.
It's not true.
Yeah.
I will prove it.
Okay. So y'all are sitting there watching this show and I'm thinking, why would Mary want to watch this show? And you may really have been interested, but it seemed like you were more interested in spending time and sharing space with Lauren.
It's to connect with your
To connect. And in a sense, that is like a place of communication.
Well, I do like it. You have sports to connect with Christopher. Okay. Me and the girls we don't have that.
Right.
So half of the year you can connect through something where you can talk to Chris other than shop and ministry and all that.
We only communicate 6 months out of the year.
That's about it. But hey, you got 6 months.
We got 6 months. We got to take time off.
It's true though.
Come on, how exciting is golf? The Masters. Come on, big deal.
Well, he's not into it either.
Oh, I love it.
So you guys together have sports to talk about and
most of the
basketball and football.
We communicate better on our phones.
Okay, well now we're just shooting ourselves in the foot here.
No. The point there is, especially with a younger family, you're trying to build some form of communication.
Yes, it's patterns.
And I know from a man's perspective, sometimes we're like, you know what, they'll get it. I don't have to push myself to have this conversation. They know I love them. And if they need anything,
teenagers,
they'll come to me.
I don't want to deal with the teenager. It's just a trend they're going through, or a phase. It might not be.
Yeah. There has to be that proper communication, which then also causes me to think of this. There are some young people today that are struggling with so much anxiety and stress because of their phones.
Oh, that's true.
So what we'll sometimes do and not mean to as parents is cause them more stress and anxiety by getting on them constantly about their phone, which then causes them that to feel so weighted down that they look for an escape. So they go back to the very thing that's causing them the anxiety, which means what I'm trying to say there is creating the healthy home environment is to sit down and really have that. Hey, where are you at? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
Why are you upset? And not make a judgment call or not even have to give them the answers to their, the resolve their problems for them. Sometimes they just want to be able to communicate with you.
Yeah.
Because health and wellness, mental health and wellness today is such a big deal that some of these kids are overstressed and anxious.
And they feel like they disappoint their parents when their parents come in so strong. And I think a great tip for moms and dads, single mom, single dad, moms and dads. If you can talk to your child, not like a peer, but like a friend with consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't talk down to your child and dismissive of your child, what are you looking at? What's on your phone? That never works. It doesn't work with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work with your child, especially a teenager. So if they're feeling overparented and overpowered, they're going to hide it because they don't want to disappoint you. Nobody wants to get in trouble, your kids especially. So if you remove the trouble part from it, where you're really doing discovery and getting understanding, and then you have consequences. Listen, that's not good for you, but I want to know what are you talking about, and what are your interests right now, and how does that make you feel? Are you coming up feeling bad about yourself? Because I love you, I'm your parent, and let's find a better way. And you partner with your kid. That does not mean you give in. Now, if your child isn't, you approach your child with more of a non-judgmental, not so overpowering, disciplinary way, you most likely you'll nudge them out to trust you, to talk to you, because it's not all about getting in trouble. And if we can remove that when it comes to technology, you're not going to get in trouble. I'm trying to help you. I want to be close to you. I want to be the first person you tell if you see something on your phone that you shouldn't have seen, and not feel like I can't tell mom or dad, I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's super important to establish
It
that
is.
in your relationships. I remember Chris would come to you about stuff he would not go to me about
Yeah.
because he knew with you were very understanding and I'd lose my marbles.
Mm-hmm.
But and you would come to me and go, "Now listen, you can't react like that. You
Right.
cannot. That's going to bring shame."
Mm-hmm.
And he sometimes I would think, "Why does he go to Steve and he would tell you stuff he didn't really have to tell you, but he felt safe, not for everything, but there
Mm-hmm.
were certain subjects that he would only talk to you about." And I remember, I can remember he'd walk out of our room because he'd been in there talking to you. He'd close the door, and it was you. He had an advocate.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you weren't just being a dad. What are you doing in there? What are you looking at? What are you? All that does is cause our kids to go underground.
Only reason Chris had that kind of relationship with me was because we would have, I'd make this statement when we'd talk. I said, Chris, when you're at school, you have all these friends. You're going to think those friends are going to be with you for life, you
Right.
know. But there's only going to be one man that's going to be by your
That's
life,
right.
by your side for life.
Forever.
It's going to be your dad.
Yeah.
Because those friends are going to be with you in middle school, but then you're going to get to high school. You're going to have another set of friends, and then after you finish high school, everybody goes their separate ways, and you're going to have another group of friends in college. And then some of those people in college are never going to move back to Miami and they're going to go in different cities. And though they'll be acquaintances, they're not going to be by your side.
Yeah, they're
The one
gone.
that's going to be by your side is your dad,
That's right.
me. So therefore, we should have this kind of relationship with one another that you feel I'm the first guy you want to talk to.
Right.
Because I do care for you more than they care for you, because I'm going to be around more than they're going to be around. So
Yeah.
we got to have the dialogue, which made it, Chris needs to talk. Chris always was that way. So we had that communication, that open dialogue.
But my point is, it doesn't have to be with both parents, as long as
No.
it's with one, that they feel safe
Mhm.
with certain areas when it comes to technology, and they're alone with it, or somebody
Or
texts
they're
them
anxious, they're
something.
they're stressed.
They're depressed.
They are.
Yes.
They can go through those things. They can go through the hormonal changes that come. And mom and dad just have to be ready to say, hey, let's talk about it. I see you're off a little bit. I know your grades aren't where they should be.
Yeah.
Why? We got to go.
You struggling with
We
something.
got to go a
Well,
little deeper.
our moms, well, your mom worked, but in the 50s and 60s, moms were home all day. So if you were going through something, you knew your mom, you could go in and talk to her. Now in the last 30, 40 years, mom's working all day, dad's working all day. They're not there until the evening. I think one practical that we could give parents through this is set a time where you are technology free and we're just going to sit and talk.
Mhm.
I'm here. I am here for you, for anything that's going on. We're building in this time because it's the most important time in our life right now, because your child is being shaped and it being refined and being defined.
Mhm.
And your child needs to know, your teenager needs to know that not only are you the most important voice, you want to be
Yeah.
the primary voice in their
Yeah.
life.
Here's another challenge they face in the living room is divorce and separation.
Yeah, it's tough.
With that has brought the blending of family or the isolation that comes when there is divorce. And now a child sits there and has to be the middle. They're
Right.
in the middle of two people that are fighting and arguing, even though they're trying to come together and maybe for the well-being of the kid. That's kind of hard for the kid
Yeah.
to carry that. So that in itself right there causes this emotional fallout for young people. And sometimes the only way they can deal with it is to not focus on it by getting on their phone and then isolated in a way, because it keeps them from having to focus on those kind of challenges.
Yeah.
And where you got co-parenting and then you've got these custody arrangements that go on,
Oh, man.
having to adjust with all of that, it just creates this need to get away
Yeah.
and process. And it's better to live in that world, of that private world of theirs, than it is to have to juggle all that goes on.
Yeah.
That's a big issue.
It is.
And it's not getting any less in our society. It's just there. So being aware of that right there is so helpful for the parent to just keep that kid close.
Yeah.
Let's all stay, again, communication, Mary. So much of this has to do with
It does.
communication.
It does. And if your parent wasn't a good communicator, you don't really know how, but that's what this podcast is for. It's to help you learn how. It's to give parents the skills to know, hey, listen, it's not that hard. It's not rocket science, but it doesn't mean it's easy to do. It's not complicated, but we just need to take the time to put a different filter on with our kids and understand that you can have a beautiful relationship with your 13, 15, 16-year-old where they trust you and they're mature about things and they bring these issues to you and they can float through seasons of anxiety and depression. But the kids aren't going to just be good kids.
Yeah.
You've got to be a good parent.
Yeah.
You've got to set the stage for that in your home and not just assume that, oh, some kids are introverted and some kids, my daughter, she's always coming, she's always talked to me, but my son, no. You have to set at home what the standard is for expectation. I remember you used to tell Lauren when she was little, because she was a little bit less outgoing and somebody said, oh, she's shy. And you would tell Lauren, you are not shy. We are not shy. You might not be as talkative as everyone else, but don't hide behind, I'm shy. You're going to come out from that. And I remember as a young parent thinking, well, she is what she is. But the truth is, we help shape our children. We really set the ceiling for them, as well as the foundation. We can set the height. And we don't have to speak to them from the perspective of you need to be and you should be, but we're calling them up rather than just calling them out to be better and to be stronger and speak to them based on affirmation and what they will be. You might not be that right now, but you will be this.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned calling your kid out, calling your kid up. We see a child that may be lazy. We don't let them stay lazy.
No.
We call them out of that. We see a child that may be messy, and we shouldn't let them remain there. We call them up and out of that. Say, nope, you're going to make your bed. Nope, you're going to keep your room clean. We see a child that's kind of selfish,
right,
to themselves and doesn't want to contribute in the household. And you're like, no, you're going to have chores. You got responsibilities. I'm going to make the food. You're going to clean the dishes and put them away. We call them up and out. So if your kid has some kind of, personality difference that you can pick up on right away, and in Lauren's sense, she was quieter. It's like, no, she's not going to be shy.
No.
We're going to call her up and out of that to force her to do something different, act different, think different, so she doesn't get caught up in that loop of, oh, here I am, just shy. Nobody understands me.
I don't have as much to contribute as my siblings. No. It's baloney.
It was calling her up and calling her out. And that's important when it's calling things out. It's making things obvious. So when there is this divorce, this separation, this blended family, and you're seeing your children, your spouse and such going through some challenges, it's good to be able to call it out. Just bring it up, talk it out and discuss it. Even if you don't have all the answers to it, it's good to just put it out there on the table so that the light hits it and now things can be addressed. If not, you leave your kid in their own mind and the loop just continues.
Oh, what an escape.
And that becomes
great
their escape.
Yeah,
but once you put it out there, now you're combating their own thoughts with another thought that could be what ultimately saves them and causes them to, okay, let me work differently with this stepbrother of mine, and let me treat my stepfather different. Because this is what should be doing. It helps them adjust.
Yeah.
But if not, then they're going to go isolate themselves into their private world and
there's alternatives.
Make that family member an enemy.
Yes. And the thing with talking about the cell phones and technology is that it was created and adapted to trigger all the addictive senses in our brain. That's what it was created to do. So the problem with the technology and the escape of it, if you already have an environment and a dynamic at home that lends itself to your child or daughter, which is what we're talking about, to become more addicted or isolated in their phone, and then you start seeing them manifest things, you're going to have to give them an alternative.
Yeah.
And I know what parents need the most in their families is the support to know that they can be honest with their kid and they can let their kid be honest with them, because honesty creates intimacy. And if you don't feel close to your child, if it's just easier for you to default and let them be on their phones, they're just going through a phase, they'll grow out of it. Listen, this is something different than what we grew up with.
Mhm.
It's a drug all on its own.
Yeah.
So parents have a window here.
Mhm.
And not that we want to scare them, but the truth is, more than ever, parents have to be attentive, aware, and they need a game plan
Yeah.
so that their kids do not get caught up with the technology battle
Mhm.
that there's a list. Pick something on the list of the things they can get
Yeah.
addicted to.
Yeah. Well, the last I would say is to help a child deal with that private time of theirs, mom and dad have to create quality time
Yes.
with them away from that phone.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, then what you really do find is your kid's so much more focused on you and the living room and what's happening around the dinner table, that then the lure of that private time on their phone won't be that bad.
No.
Yes, you got to set some boundaries, especially if you're going to spend quality time with your family. You should say, okay, tomorrow night, let's remember we're all going out, or this weekend we're all going here. And by the way,
Yeah.
we're not going to bring our phone.
Yeah,
with
we're
us.
leaving our phones at the
Or
house.
we're going to turn our phone
Yeah.
on mute, and
Yeah.
we'll turn them on, off during the day, turn them on at night. You'll have your hour and so on. Set some boundaries
Yeah.
in place to help wean your kids off of that,
That's right.
so that it brings them more into the healthy living room that you should be building and having as a family.
We are the parent. The phone is not.
That's right.
The phone does not control our kids. We control the outcome, not
That's
the
it.
phone.
Thank you, Mary.
That's
Well,
it.
hopefully you've joined us or enjoyed us today as we have talked about our phones. I got to go because
Your phone's
I
blowing
got
up.
a few calls I need to make, and I got a game or two I want to play and send a few texts. But thanks for joining us today on The Family Business with the Alessis. It's Mary and Steve. Had a great time sharing with you. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and click on the notifications bell so you can be notified for all of our future videos. And if you loved today's topic, we have plenty more. And you can click on this link right here to watch all of our videos so you can learn why family is everybody's business.